Chicago Bears Now is presented by Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com. All you got to do to get that 20% off is use our promo code BEARS20. Today's show on Chicago Bears Now is top free agent targets for the Chicago Bears following the NFL draft. A great draft from Chicago, but now let's take a look at some players the Bears could sign. Number one, and I think cornerback is your biggest need now, Richard Sherman. This would be fascinating. Bears have some question marks there. Now, healthy Jalen Johnson I feel good about, but I'm not convinced on Desmond Trufant. Sherman did say that he will sign somewhere after the draft, and he wants to play for a contender for 2 or 3 more years and then probably call it a career. That's what he has said earlier this offseason. Now, before the draft, I would have said, okay, well, that's probably not in play for the Bears. Now, though, it's at least interesting. I don't know that the Bears can win a Super Bowl this upcoming year, but they're competitive, and if Fields gets on the field and plays well, that's an intriguing situation. I'm trying to get Richard Sherman if I'm Chicago, so get your votes in on this one. Should the Bears sign Richard Sherman, or at least try to? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Richard Sherman, Jalen Johnson, that's a pretty exciting duo. I'm typing my Y for yes. If I can't get Sherman, well, Bashaud Breeland might be my next call. He has actually played very solid the past 2 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's played really well. He stayed healthy. The only games he missed last year were due to a suspension. He would be a cheap-ish option to start opposite of Jalen Johnson. And I think you'd feel pretty good about that outside tandem of Breeland and of Johnson. Is he going to replace Kyle Fuller? No. But no one out there is, and that includes Richard Sherman. So you get a guy like Breeland in here who I believe has had 2 picks 3 years in a row, a good pass breakup guy, understands coverages. I would like this signing. Can you get him for like $4 million or something like that on a 1-year deal? Free up a little more cash after the Charles Leno move. I like Bashaud Breeland. I think he could be an option for Chicago. Brian Poole next up, who's more of a nickelback, but probably the best one out there. And don't forget, the Bears released Buster Skrine back in February. Now, Poole did finish last season on IR, but he's pretty young. He's under the age of 30. And when you kind of look at this depth chart, we've talked about the outside corner spots with Johnson and Trufant. I think on paper, those are your starters. For sure, Johnson will be one of them. Duke Shelley played okay down the stretch, got some good experience, but not the best cover guy. He's better against the run, in all honesty. You get a guy like Brian Poole in there, you're feeling a lot better about things. Now, if it were me, I would rather focus on an outside corner because I'm just not convinced about Desmond Trufant. Maybe the Bears feel differently, but Brian Poole's probably the best nickel out there, and I think that they could benefit from targeting a player like him. What do you guys think the bigger need is? Maybe you disagree. I think it's outside corner, but if you agree, type CB. If you think it's a nickelback, a slot corner, type nickel in the comments. I'm going to type my CB, but get your votes in. Malik Hooker remains unsigned, the safety who played the first few years of his career with the Indianapolis Colts. The talent is there. It continues to be there. The injuries have been the problem. He's missed 28 games in 4 seasons. He tore his Achilles this past season. He's visited a couple of teams. I know he met with the Dallas Cowboys and a few others. Mark hasn't developed, so I think he'll be pretty cheap. Now, obviously, Chicago has Eddie Jackson. They re-signed Tayshaun Gibson, which I like that move, but a low-pressure situation to be a number 3 safety with the Bears. Deion Bush can be solely a special teams player. I'm interested. It's low risk since you have 2 starters already. If I'm Hooker, though, I'm probably going somewhere where I have a better chance of playing, but that team may not be out there at this point, so we'll have to wait and see. With the last name Hooker, you know he goes to Manscaped, and you guys should too at manscaped.com. Promo code BEARS20 to get 20% off plus free shipping. Guys, your balls are going to thank you. You shave downstairs, clean shave, it's smooth as a baby's bottom. Go ahead and get the Lawnmower 3.0 at manscaped.com. Promo code BEARS20 for you Bears fans only. And the Lawnmower 3.0, not the only product at Manscaped I use, the ball toner, the ball deodorant. It's all fantastic. BEARS20 is the promo code at manscaped.com. Next up, Melvin Ingram in our top free agent targets, limited to just 7 games in 2020 and had 0 sacks. That's a bit of a red flag, but the prior 2 years, very productive. 7 sacks in 2018, 7 sacks in 2019. And I watched Robert Quinn play last year. not very good. So I think opposite of Khalil Mack, if you could get another player in there that can help rush the passer, that can only be a good thing. There's other options, but I think Melvin Ingram for cheap is one that I would definitely take a look at. A guy I might look at harder is Justin Houston, who is coming off 2 really good years with the Colts. Remember, Kansas City cut him after the 2018 season. They thought he was done, and he had 8+ sacks 2 years in a row with Indianapolis. He fits the mold of a 3-4 outside linebacker. It's what he did back in Kansas City. He did that with the Colts as well. I think you could rotate him with Robert Quinn. Every once in a while, Khalil Mack can take a break as well, and you're feeling a lot better about the edge rusher position. So pick one for me, Melvin Ingram or Justin Houston. Type MI for Melvin Ingram, type JH for Justin Houston. Get your votes in on this one. Who would you rather sign if you were Chicago? It depends on price. If all things are equal, I think I'm going to take Justin Houston. I'll type my JH. Geno Atkins is still out there, and for good reason, because he stunk in 2020. But he's had some good years in the past, and I do think that the Bears could use some depth on their defensive line, both internally at nose tackle, defensive tackle spot, and at defensive end as well. Guys, he had 1 tackle last year. He was bad. There's no doubt about it. But he's 6'1", 300. He's got some positional flexibility in a 3-4 scheme. Vet minimum deal, bring him into camp, see what happens. I'm definitely down for that. Subscribe to Bears Now because we are the most interactive YouTube channel when it comes to the Chicago Bears. Live interaction. We take your questions and answer them during our live shows. We give you guys shout-outs. We have a whole lot of fun. And on top of that, we still have the latest Bears news, rumors, segments like this where we break down free agent targets and draft coverage as well. Hey, maybe I'll cook up a 2022 Bears mock draft very, very soon. Subscribe, and we'll try to do that for you guys. How about offensive line? Mitchell Schwartz, and I wanted to mention him because with Chicago apparently moving Tevin Jenkins to left tackle, I would at least be curious here. Now, obviously, you look at the offensive line here. I think the idea from Pace and Nagy is, okay, Charles Leno saves us $9 million by making him a post-June 1st cut. So let's maximize value here. Let's kick Tevin Jenkins to left tackle. Let's play Jermaine Eifert at right tackle because we already paid him $5 million in free agency, which was probably an overpay, but you've already done it, so you're stuck with it. But I'm intrigued by Mitchell Schwartz. Back surgery this offseason did not look right when he played early on last year, which is why the Chiefs shut him down. But when he's healthy, this has been arguably the best right tackle in football for 4, 5, 6 years now. He was bad in 2020 because the back was an issue, but before that, he was really, really good. If you can get him for cheap, yeah, you're overpaying for Eifert, who's a backup at that point, but hey, it might be worth it if Mitchell Schwartz is back and healthy. How about Golden Tate, who got released by the Giants earlier this offseason? Production has certainly dipped for the longtime veteran receiver, but I'm intrigued here. Obviously, this only really makes sense if you cut or trade Anthony Miller. You already have a decent amount of depth at wide receiver, but think of this. Okay, you flip Anthony Miller for a 6th or 7th, maybe you even cut him to just save the $1 million or whatever. You've got Allen Robinson, you've got Darnell Mooney, you plug Golden Tate into the slot, and then Daz Newsome and Marquise Goodwin, those are like your gadget guys that you rotate in from time to time, right? And then between Javon Wims and Riley Ridley, one of those guys makes the roster as the number 6 receiver. I don't really care who it is, but that's intriguing to me. If you think Golden Tate has something left in the tank, then I'm interested, but it ultimately comes down to what they do with Anthony Miller. Predict it for me. Who will be the Bears' number 3 receiver? Remember, A-Rob 1, Mooney 2. Who's going to be 3? Going to be Miller? Is it going to be a free agent? Is it going to be Daz Newsome, Marquise Goodwin? There's options. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tyler Eifert, I believe this is our final guy. Here he is, 10 free agents on today's show. The tight end who played with Jacksonville last year, who 3 straight years from 16 through 18, basically didn't play at all. He could not stay healthy. But now he's put together 2 healthy seasons. I think he's only missed 1 game the past 2 years, and he's still been fairly productive. Had 36 catches last year, a couple of touchdowns, in a bad offense in Jacksonville for a team that was basically tanking with Gardner Minshew, Bears legend Mike Glennon, and anyone else they trotted out at quarterback. I think is like a number 2-ish tight end. He has some value, kind of similar to Golden Tate with Anthony Miller. Maybe this depends on what they do with Jimmy Graham, if they cut him or not. But if he's cheap, I'm interested. Besides Graham and Cole Kmet, I don't really like this tight end room. So even if you keep both those guys, I would have some interest in Tyler Eifert. So there you have it. I took a look at 10 guys. There's more out there. So if you think of a different name, let me know. Who should the Bears sign in free agency? I want to hear it from you guys right now.